Hey everybody, before we dive into today's show, I have a fun pop-up offer to share with you from Equalife. This is on our calming magnesium, the number one product to relax your nervous system, help you unwind at night, good for your digestion and bowels to keep you regular, as well as get that deep sleep you need overnight. Very simple to use. It is strawberry splash, a delicious flavor. You simply take 1 scoop mixed in warm water or as a tea a half hour or so before bed. It is absolutely delicious, and it essentially has no calories, and it is a delicious drink you can use, like I said, right before bed. That's going to be good for your regularity in your bowels in the morning, as well as enable you to recover and rejuvenate overnight. If you've never tried the product, I highly recommend it, and we're offering 15% off this week while supplies last. Head on over to stevencabral.com/shop for all the details.
Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Welcome back, everyone. Great to have you here today. Can't wait to get into episode 2462 of the Cabral Concept. We're going to be going over the 5 foods that make allergies worse. That means it can exacerbate brain fog, fatigue, itchy skin, itchy eyes, headaches, and so much worse that comes along with allergy-based issues. Now, yesterday's show, hopefully you tuned in then, because we actually went over the raw honey challenge. It's good for not just with people with allergies, but actually cardiovascular health, digestive health, antimicrobial, antifungal, cough, respiratory, and so much more. So you'll definitely want to check out that. That was episode 2461. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to link up everything here today, including a show on histamines, if you haven't checked that one out, at stevencabral.com/2462. If you want to head on over there, we'll go over those 5 foods right now that make allergies so much worse. And since I've been getting so many questions this allergy season, because for the most part, people do have allergies year round, there's no doubt about it. But the spring and the fall seem to be a big issue for many people, and that can include mold, because dust, mold, and pollen seem to be the big 3 from the environment that are absolutely worse in the fall when leaves are falling and decaying, as well as in the spring after the snow melts for many people up in the north, and those decayed leaves and grass, all that have grown mold over the winter. Definitely want to check it out. I've talked about this on many podcasts before. 51% of homes in New England and the north essentially have some level of mold in them too. And so, again, we have to take this very seriously. Allergies, mold, dust, pollen, all these things can affect your health. And what happens is it builds up inflammation over time. That inflammation can then exacerbate pretty much any genetic-based issue you may have locked inside of you. So, without further ado, let's get into it. The first one is busting the myth right off the bat of yogurt actually being helpful for your allergies. Okay, I will tell you this. As someone that used to suffer from debilitating allergies, as I shared yesterday, I was absolutely miserable. Couldn't even go to work for about 2 weeks during the springtime because my eyes would be swollen shut. I can tell you for sure that yogurt only makes most people worse. And here's why. Yogurt, yes, it contains some of those probiotics, but we're talking like 1, 2, maybe 3 strains, but it contains higher levels of histamines as well. That means in the moment, if you're having allergy-based issues, yogurt can be absolutely devastating and only fill up that rain barrel to a greater degree. I'm telling you right now, there is no better analogy for allergies than the rain barrel effect. Without a doubt, that's how I first learned about it, is that I had year-round allergies, but they weren't debilitating. I just had year-round itchy eyes, swollen eyes, brain fog, fatigue, headaches in the afternoon, no doubt about it. Some of it was from food allergies that I didn't know I had, food sensitivities, and some of it environmental based. But here's the thing. you just head into the springtime, those trees begin to bud, pollen starts to hit the air, and then boom, my rain barrel's overflowed, and now I have all these debilitating symptoms. So yes, I do not disagree that probiotics can be quite helpful, like no doubt about it for allergies. What you first want to do is clean up your gut. I mean, that's the biggest thing, is you want to make sure you don't have candida overgrowth, SIBO, H. pylori, or parasites. Then you want to get rid of that, and then you want to heal and seal the gut. Again, I'm not giving you any medical-based advice or medical-based diagnosis, treatment plans, or cures, but if you have gut-based issues, I can't recommend enough either testing to find out what they are by looking at the gut bundle at stephencabral.com/labs. And again, you can run these labs with any integrative health practitioner level 2 or your local naturopathic doctor, or just go right in the protocol if you choose to, and that's at stephencabral.com/CBO. Again, do what you feel is right for you, but there's no way that anybody's overcoming allergies without fixing their gut. There's just absolutely no chance. Like there's no chance at all. Because when you have a permeable gut and this bacteria, yeast, pathogens, proteins, etc., spilling in your bloodstream, it increases inflammation. That inflammation is going to increase what? Whatever you're predisposed to. You're going to have an issue with leukotrienes, which we'll talk about in a moment, histamines, prostaglandins, whatever it might be. It's going to set off that Th2 part of the immune system if it's chronic, and you're going to end up with debilitating allergies. It's just, that's the way that it works. You have to fix that. That's the first and foremost. Okay, so Greek yogurt, no. Probiotics, yes, but not in the moment. I'm telling you, if you start adding probiotics while you have allergies, like that season, it's going to be a disaster. Now, outside of your main time of the year, fall, spring, whatever it might be, yes, then you will want to absolutely clean up the gut and use some probiotics. Could you use some Greek yogurt at that moment in time? Maybe. Maybe. You'll just have to see if it works for you. I would start really small. I would always go with a Greek or sheep-based yogurt, never cow's milk-based yogurt. All right, so we can start there. And then, of course, you can always try a coconut-based yogurt. But honestly, like, people are eating yogurt for a lot of health-based issues. I don't know. Unless you have diarrhea, loose stool, something like that, where it can be very, very beneficial, I'd rather use a probiotic where I know the amount of strains that I'm getting, I know the particular strains that I'm getting, and I know the dosage. So eat yogurt if you'd like to eat yogurt, but I don't necessarily know that I do that to help out my overall, gut. That's me. I like to get right to the source. I like to know exactly what I'm doing. All right, so that's the first one. Number 2 is this: red meat, pork, lamb. Here's the thing, and this includes even some organ meats. I'm not saying I'm against these things. I'm really not. I eat red meat. There's no doubt about it. I have always grass-fed. I have a limited amount in general. And I eat buffalo. I eat elk. I eat venison. I'm eating some of the game-based meats that are less of the arachidonic acid, less of the overall saturated fat. Again, I'm not saying you can't have saturated fat. I'm not even saying that some saturated fat isn't good for you. That's not what I'm saying. So I don't want to turn this podcast into something that it's not. But what I am saying is this: the more arachidonic acid that you have in your body, the more potential. Now, again, some people never get allergies, and so they can't understand why someone would ever say, don't eat red meat. Listen, I get it. I understand. There's B vitamins in it. I get it. Don't get me wrong. I understand. I'm talking about for people suffering from debilitating allergies or allergies in general, it's not going to be helpful. And the reason is that you have to understand the pathways, the hormonal pathways, or the actual, I should say, inflammatory pathways. When you take in arachidonic acid, now the arachidonic acid can come from vegetable oils as well. I'm not saying that at all, but just want you to know, like, this does affect people. And when I had debilitating allergies, if I ate those things, especially if it wasn't grass-fed, it would be much, much worse. So here's the thing. When you're eating arachidonic acid, it can lead down essentially 3 main pathways. There's the COX-1 pathway. There's the COX-2 pathway. COX. Again, you're welcome to look into the research. COX-1 pathway, to make it easy, is typically for the mucosal pathway through the entire gastrointestinal tract. So that can create inflammation through the whole GI tract. It can end up with like mucus in the stool, inflammation in the intestinal tract, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, etc. Okay, so then there's the COX-2 pathway. This is basically everything else in the body. So if you get pain, joint pain, etc. with allergies, like some people can literally get joint pain with allergies, not uncommon. And the reason is that they could have an over-exacerbation of this COX-2 pathway. And again, arachidonic acid simply can lead to the expression of this increase in what's called prostaglandin. So COX-1 pathway, COX-2 pathway increases prostaglandin, specifically prostaglandin series 2. The prostaglandin series 2 then causes the heat, right, that we feel with the inflammation, the fever, the pain, the cytokines, the histamine-based release. All right, so just understand that it's only going to make it worse while you're in it. Now, some balance with the anti-inflammatories that I've been talking about over the past couple of weeks, not as big a deal, especially if you're taking in EPA and DHA, but more EPA than DHA. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to link up those shows because I don't want to rehash what we just spoke about over the last 2 shows. But what they found, and this is really interesting, if you use something like the daily omega-3 support and it's higher EPA than DHA, then the EPA can actually short circuit and cut off the effects of arachidonic acid, leading to the inflammatory prostaglandins, because the pathway seems to shift, as far as we know in science right now, more towards the anti-inflammatory pathway, which is why a good quality fish oil that's 2 to 1 at least for EPA to DHA can be highly beneficial. So something to think about. You can get it naturally, and I give you natural sources as well on the last show. I just know that people want simple, and I get it. And again, especially when you're suffering. So that's that. Now, here's the interesting thing. Why couldn't I get over my allergies even though I had studied so much about allergies and arachidonic acid and inflammatory pathways and natural antihistamines, et cetera, et cetera? Because there's one more pathway. And that's what almost no one knows about or talks about. And that is the LOX pathway. So we've got COX-1, COX-2, and LOX, LOX. And essentially, this one affects more people with lung-based issues, asthma-based issues, and can create a lot more maybe post-nasal drip or mucus in the lungs. That's more what I'm prone to. Didn't know about it. None of my doctors ever mentioned it. And it has to do with what's called leukocytes and leukotrienes. And so I did not get fully better until I understood how to balance leukotrienes. And that's a topic for a different show, but I'm giving you the basis and the foundations now. Fix your gut, heal and seal the gut, then begin to work on balancing what's called Th2 immune dominance and overall stress in the body. It takes time, but you can absolutely do it. Now, arachidonic acid, though, can move down any one of those 3 pathways I just shared with you. Okay, so am I saying never to eat red meat again? That's not what I said, all right? I'm just saying go easy, go easy, especially if you're dealing with allergy-based issues. All right, the next one is aged cheese. Now, some people have no issues with some raw, fresh goat cheese, okay? Some people have no issues with that, some raw sheep cheese that's fresh, right? So, but if it's an aged cheese, that will drive people's allergies crazy because of the high levels of histamines, all right? So that's number 3. I don't think I need to say too much about that more. Cheese is going to drive your allergies crazy. So you're going to lay off the cheese. Number 4 is citrus-based fruits. And this is a little bit more of a myth as well. So I wanted to share this with you. People with allergies are told to get in a lot of vitamin C. Vitamin C is a natural antihistamine. I completely agree with that. And I gave you many allergy-fighting anti-inflammatory foods on a previous podcast that I'll link up today at stephencabral.com/2462. It was our show on actually foods that fight allergies. I think it was just because I've gotten so many comments and questions. Yeah, it was just 2 weeks ago, right? Yeah, just 2 weeks ago on 2449. We'll link that up for you. 7 foods that fight allergies naturally. You'll want to check that one out. So hopefully that, this is going to be the last show basically on allergies for a while, but this should help all those people dealing with the fall-based allergies and into winter. So here's the thing. Yes, citrus fruits can be very high in vitamin C. And so they can be very beneficial as an anti-inflammatory, and I would say as an antihistamine more specifically. The problem is many citrus fruits are loaded with histamines. So they do not do you that benefit. So that's a little bit of a myth as well. So now you can get in other fruits that is high in vitamin C that are not also high in histamines. So this brings me to basically my last link for you. If you've never heard about histamines before, I think it's important to study them. If you're someone that's dealing with joint pain, brain fog, headaches, inflammation in any way, you need to know about histamines. You really do. And so what I'm going to do is have my team link up my podcast on histamines, and I believe it even has a food list for you and what you want to know about histamine foods, because if it's aged, it's spiced, if it's fermented or it's smoked, you want to be careful. Just in general, but especially if you have allergies. All right. The last one today is bread. Everyone's beloved bread, even what's held up on a pedestal right now is sourdough. Sourdough is like, I don't know, it's the magic bullet, right? Like if we only all had a little bit more sourdough in our diet, that would heal the world. Well, I'm not sure that I necessarily advocate that or believe in that. I think what happens is we move towards our biases. People love bread. I love bread. Bread is delicious. I mean, it's one of the best foods in the world. It really is. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's super healthy for us. It is a processed food. If anybody can show me how bread is not processed, I'd be interested to entertain that debate. I really would. Because I don't know how you have something that's ground down into a flour, that's mixed with certain ingredients like yeast, which can be very, very detrimental to allergies, and then called that's a non-processed food. Now, is there a time and place for bread? Not against it. I'm really not. Some people do well with sourdough bread. Now, sourdough bread contains what though? Bacteria, probiotics. Now, again, that could be beneficial, but not for people with allergies. Not in that moment. It's just not. Again, devastating consequences. As they say, one person's food is another person's poison, something like that. Isn't that how it goes? I'm pretty sure. That's why if you do great with sourdough bread and you've done your IgG food sensitivity test and you have no sensitivities to wheat and gluten, all that, then fantastic. For me, when I have bread, it is going to be a millet bread, or it's going to be an oat bread, or it's going to be some type of more ancient-based grain. And if I go with a wheat-based bread, it's going to be more of a rye. It's going to be more of an older-based grain. That's what I do better with. But am I eating bread on a daily basis? No, because I can't honestly say that it's not necessarily a processed food and they're going to be healthier for it. Like, it's difficult to say, not difficult, it is not possible to say you would be healthier eating bread than you would a bowl of steel-cut oatmeal or a bowl bowl of, let's say, sweet potatoes or Japanese yams or purple potatoes. They're just better. Like the brightly colored phytonutrients are there. So again, if you're healthy and you're happy, enjoy your bread. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is if you're not well, you're going to want to stay away from the yeast. And again, I know sourdough bread typically doesn't have yeast. That's okay. The bacteria that's in that for right now. And also in general, gluten can be highly inflammatory for the human body. So what we don't want is extra inflammation to exacerbate allergies, which are an inflammatory-based condition. So again, all of this goes for allergies and asthma and any inflammatory-based issue. The worst thing that you can do is try eliminating these 5 and nothing changes, right? Nothing changes. Like, that's the worst. Now, the best case, though, is you get a dramatic drop in your overall histamine load, inflammation, arachidonic acid, and more. So it's something to think about. This isn't, again, I always say it's not the end-all, be-all, but what you have to do is look at allergies or any health-based condition in a holistic standpoint. And that means diet, exercise, stress reduction, toxin removal, rest, emotional balance, because stress matters. It really does. Scientifically backed supplements and a success mindset. That's the de-stress protocol I read about in my book, The Rain Barrel Effect. It is the way that we empty the rain barrel. It is the way that we overcome things like allergies and all the other health issues that humans are plagued with. Hopefully today's podcast was helpful. All the big 3 takeaways, all the show notes will be at stephencabral.com/2462. Head on over for those previous podcasts as well. Thanks so much. Of course, share the show with anyone you believe it could serve. Thank you so much. Take care. Couldn't thank you enough for all of your support of the show and our global health community. Our message really does mean the world to us, our team, our IHPs, and I know all of you as well. So again, thank you so much for your support of this show. What I wanted to share with you before you do go is that this week we are offering 15% off our Calming Magnesium drink. It is a crowd favorite, and that is because it helps with bowel regularity, but it also reduces a lot of that anxiety, nervousness you might be feeling, calms the nervous system, allows you to get a deep, rejuvenating night's sleep. It's very simple to use. You simply use 1 scoop of the delicious strawberry splash flavor in room temperature water or just some hot tea before bed. Mix it up 30 minutes or so before bed. Sip on it. It's a delicious, no sugar drink. You'll enjoy it and your body will as well. If you want to try it out, take 15% off while supplies last by heading on over to StephenCabral.com/shop.